All right, welcome back to Countercultural Conversations with Brandon Kroll and myself, talking about the events that are unfolding in our world. How's
Yeah,
it going, Brandon?
it's going, Mark. Same old, making people mad every other day with just standing up or challenging the official narrative.
That's
As, I was
how.
about, as I was about to elaborate with you, the Satan's Little Season is a topic that is quite popular in Christian circles, and that's something that, for me, in the Christian circle, when something becomes popular very fast, that's a red flag. Anything that becomes popular really fast, because if it is true Christianity,
It
it's
shouldn't change, right?
right. Right, and it shouldn't. Real Christianity is going to get people mad at you, whereas with this movement, I see them getting mad at me for simply challenging the narrative, right? And
Yeah,
that's another red flag. And the tone that I see with majority of this in this movement, they're quite nasty. And another red flag is a lot of them I noticed are New Agers. And I'm thinking it's becoming a thing. That's part of what I want to talk about today is I'm literally sometimes outlining for some people you are a new ager without specifically saying by verbatim you are a new ager, but it's like this is all the things that you technically believe in, and they're like, no, that's not me, but it is. And the thing is, we're, as we said last time, we do live in a world where we're throwing a presupposition out of you're a liberal, you're a Republican, fill in blank, and the stereotype is cast prematurely of what we suspect all of that means when I throw a label upon you. And we ourselves never bother to dissect or break down what does it mean specifically to you. When you look up the definition and break it down for that individual, are these things that you believe in, right?
yeah.
And that's where I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you this is what you believe in. And they're saying, no, I don't. But then, like, I'll see them post a reel with another guest. And I'm like, that's exactly what I was saying. Bad.
Yeah.
So,
I and we talked about this the other day. Some people, myself included, to some degrees, we believe certain things because we are told to believe those things, and we never really question why we believe it or if it's true or what it really is. You've seen
right.
the we talked about this the other day too, the whatever podcast. What was it? They asked about, was it they asked if they thought their boyfriend was a narcissist, and everyone raises their hand, and then they said,
Yes.
has he ever been clinically diagnosed, and do you know what a narcissist is, the clinical definition? And no one piped up. Same thing happens with misogynists a lot of times too. There's a lot of terms thrown around, and I think that goes back to people want to think that they know what's going on.
Yep.
My three favorite words are I don't know,
Hmm.
but I'm open to hearing what you have to say, because I'm groping around like a blind man in the dark here sometimes, most of the time.
Which is healthy to say you don't know. And I started that particular show saying, I have been listening to the people that they keep referring me to. I'm breaking down the character of these people. And what's one thing that they go immediately after to bash you about? Like I one time was going after Candace Owens. Just be wary. These are the connections she has not been transparent about. Same thing with Russell Brand. These are the past connections he has. He's not been transparent about. If you're a Christian and you're formerly of that life with Russell, you should be trying to warn everybody what's going on, right? Give me a documentary, something, buddy. No. Instead, you're still pushing the two party paradigm.
Yeah.
With Candace, how come you haven't told me about your father-in-law's connection with, the anti-Semitic League? Why are you now coming forward? What's with the black and white checkerboard with the two pillars that you took a photo op at? And then somebody, they took a text, said, well, isn't your parents in jail? Yeah, but that's not used to throw diss at me. That's transparency. I'm letting you know
Mhm.
my background instead of being like, oh, you're part of a lodge, you're this, you're that, controlled opposition. No, I'm like, you can look it up.
Yeah, you're not hiding it.
Right. So, and then somebody was saying, oh, you think you're suffering financially, blah, blah, blah. Because I wrote a pinned comment and I said, yeah. And here you guys are. You're ready to all pop up with verses and dislikes and, all this, that, and the other thing. But when I ask you to support the show, I don't see any of you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
That's hypocrisy that I'm hearing is you're willing to
yeah.
bring slander to the table, throw your tomatoes, but to put a few coppers in the little jar for all the other stuff that I did bring and you did agree with. I don't hear any
Yeah.
of you doing that, and I'm saying bare minimum like $2. I'm not saying give me 1,000 like Apollo White. Bare minimum.
Mhm.
No, no. The hate's
Yeah.
ready, but the generosity is lacking. That's what I'm talking about with lack of transparency.
Hmm.
Instead, I see a form of hypocrisy.
Well, back to the financial idea, it's very interesting to me, and I've never seen it fail, that in this world, following the money, always leads to some interesting outcomes. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I don't, it's funny, Brandon. I still am amazed at the people who can't quite connect the dots that money runs this world. Ken O'Keefe's been talking about it for 20 years. The head of the snake is the financial industry.
Hmm.
If you see someone on a big platform who has a large audience, who's making a ton of money off sponsorships, and you don't question what they're telling you at this stage in the game, then that is a wild way to live in this fallen world. Because I got to tell you, I mean, follow the money. People still don't follow. Some aren't following the money, and it's going to bite them in the butt. It's only a matter of time.
That's where was I watching this? It was something very related to what you're talking about. But somebody basically was calling out, says the pharmaceutical and all these other companies are literally dictating what's being said on air, and you have to run it by them, or else we're
Yeah,
going to cancel our sponsorship with you.
yeah.
And I'm over here going, you and me, we don't have that. We're literally making barely
No.
ends meet.
Yeah,
And
we don't have those.
right, and we're dissecting what we're hearing, and we're just saying be wary. We're not saying to cancel them. Just
Right.
be wary of who you're listening to. And we're also dissecting, like with a Ben Shapiro or whatnot, do they give you something to do about it, a
Yeah.
solution, as opposed to just getting, yeah, that's my sentiments, and thank you for agreeing with me, get you all riled up to keep justifying your stagnation. I don't want followers. I want doers.
Yeah.
Right?
And
That's what Christ
thinkers.
wanted too. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not about, oh, follow me and just do it always my way. No.
Right.
I want you
Listen
to
only to
start
me.
doing it from where you are with the special abilities in the niche field that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that is the point right there. One of the things as a person, because again, because I want to know the truth, and because I'm a truth seeker as you are, I'm listening to everybody, and I got to tell you, it is a wild experience, super wild, to listen to a Ben Shapiro or a Jonathan Cahn talk for an hour about Israel, and you don't hear one negative thing.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is a huge red flag to me, because no one in this world and no countries in this world is pure as the freshly driven snow. Everyone's got blood on their hands, and everyone's done something that people would be holy crap about if they knew. And I listen, and then what you do, and then we know, especially Jonathan, well, Ben Shapiro and Jonathan Kahn,
Right.
millions of loyal followers who take hang on their every word. I've heard more specifically Jonathan Kahn. Someone in one of the comments said that they visited his church and they called it a wild cult.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, I can see that, because if you are in this like bubble where all of your confirmation bias is just spinning around and you don't
Yes.
have any view outside, that's a dangerous way to look at life. And also, I think human beings we all have a responsibility to think for ourselves, investigate for ourselves. I mean, we are one, however many people on the planet, one, let's say 8 billion people, if we want to trust their number, of the stewards of this world. And I don't know about you, but I want to be real sure before I take an action or make an investment here or there, that I've got all the information. But some people, they're just like, whatever this guy says, I believe.
Well said with the confirmation. It's like, yeah, and it confirms what we hear in Revelation. In the last days, mankind will be lovers of themselves and ear ticklers. That's what they're seeking. That's what most of these political pundits or church pastors are giving them. Tell me what I want to hear, and that's again when somebody challenges it, they all refer me to their hero. I don't want to hear what your hero has to say.
Yeah.
And the one person who did put a bunch of verses, they're of the LGBT community. So I'm like, that's already phase one. Second, you're the new ager. Third, like, so you don't really have a seat at the table to tell me something. I'm sorry, because that means you're compromising. You're cherry picking how to make the word applicational, right? And that's not what you're supposed to do. That if anything, the word, when truly applicational, it's not nice because you're dying to
Yeah.
yourself of what you normally want to do, right? And there's the
Mhm.
verse in Romans, I think 12:1 and 2, be not conformed by things of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Everything you thought you knew has to go through a filter, and you
Yeah.
have to work on yourself. And it's not a snap of a finger, but like you, like me, we kind of looked at the political system. We're like, nobody's really hearing us say what we have to say. So I'm going to look into it myself. I start connecting dots for people, and people get mad at me for saying, hey, have you seen these dots connected? Why did you do that?
Yeah.
I didn't see them doing it, so I thought I would do it. And now you're mad
So
at me for doing the work for you.
I thought about that a lot over the last handful of years. I look around and I think about that phrase. Um, what does it go? It says something to the effect of, I looked around and waited for somebody to do something, and then I realized, well, I'm somebody because I'm not seeing a lot of people doing things, and so I guess I'll start speaking up. And millions of regular people, regular quote unquote regular people, for whatever that means, started speaking up. I mean, I've never seen, just the other day I was talking about this in a different video, the mass awakening and mass questioning and mass sharing of information is wild right now. I mean, this the it's a frenzy of of sharing information, and I think it's awesome,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And I was just reading an article that five, and I think it's including the AI department of Meta, they're all 5X IDF.
Now explain that. 5X
So
IDF.
IDF is Israeli Defense
Oh,
Force.
sure. Okay.
And I'm thinking to myself, and they're now all in charge of Meta's thing to check on for anti-Semitism. They're now doing for
Oh,
immigrants. We're going to check for your phones for anti-Semitism. And I'm over here
yeah.
going, hold up. So am I against an ideology or an ethnicity? That's two different things. If you're going to say I'm against your ideology, well, then that is identity politics,
Hmm.
right? It's how you identify the world, and I'm against that policy of how you think of implementing that upon the world. That has nothing to do with the skin tone, your nationality. I don't care if you're Portuguese. I don't care if you're freaking Asian of any culture over there. I got a problem because that takes the life of innocent people. So now it's
Yeah.
becoming a war between a humanitarian and a patriot. The
Yeah.
patriot's saying we're going to keep on doing this nationalism stuff, right? Which it's colonialism first, and then their nationalism basically says, no, no, no takebacks. If
Yeah.
it's coming back into your own backyard.
Yeah.
That's why our culture in America, that's why we're okay with it, because oh yeah, identity politics, that's the liberals. No, that can be you too.
Yep.
No, it's not. And yet you're biased in this regard. And you're mad at me for telling you what's in their books and how they don't like my Christ. So therefore, you know what I'm saying? Like this is what I'm seeing, dude.
Yeah.
That's your truth, and if it ruins my version of the world, then you're the liar.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It is scary, and what I don't know how many people see it yet. I don't think enough see it, or we wouldn't be in this situation. If they see, oh, how they treat that person is how they're going to treat me, and what
Right,
they're if they're taking the
right,
rights there. This is why over the last few years I backed off and said, hey, I'm not going to align with any of these, quote unquote two-party system, because I see
right,
what you're doing. You're gaming us, and behind
mhm,
the scenes, the puppet master's getting everything they want.
right,
And I thought to myself, I now my goal is to just make people realize, hey, like we've talked about a number of times, they came for that person and I didn't say anything. They came for another person and I didn't say anything. They came for me and there was no one left to talk to me. And
right.
I'm very clear. Not only am I seeing it happening in my own city and state and town, but I see it happening around the world. And we've talked about this too. While I'm not getting the situation and the treatment that Palestinians are getting over there, I
Right.
empathize with them, and I see the people doing that to Palestinians would do the same thing to me if I were there. And I think they have been doing it to Americans for decades, using silent weapons for quiet wars over here,
Yep.
because you got to fight a different war on a different front.
Or just censorship in general. Somebody
Sense,
like your account,
yeah.
like sometimes I'm scrolling around, I'm like 42,000 followers, only five interactions, or less than that on a video or
Yeah.
reel that you share. That
Yeah.
that doesn't pass the smell test. There's other show the guys has 80 something followers. How are they not reaching people?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this particular clip? Like we were sharing a couple from our last show. Why do you not want people to tune into this kind of thing? Because it takes them out of the programming, the Hasbara like I call PragerU, has borrowed you, the
Yeah.
explanation, the propaganda that keeps you stultified. Whereas the other one is going to say, hey, Charlie, what about this? Don't shove me off like you do one of these college girls or Shapiro. We're going to talk about this. No, you're anti Semitic to bring that up. I'm
Yeah.
anti Semitic for bringing up history and quoting passages. Do you hear yourself right now?
Yeah.
It's only a matter of degree. And like you just said, when I'm quoting a history book and or the Bible, you're going to say I'm anti-Semitic for literally bringing facts to the table with my argument.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
wild. Eh, well, and I do think people are I'm encouraged by to see as many people basically putting their own lives and or business on hold until we solve the problem, because I do see it as an all hands on deck type of situation.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and many people do. I think every day more people join the fight or join the cause of sharing information, uncovering lies and deception, shining a light of awareness on who really has been pulling the strings. Like you said,
Right.
pharmaceutical companies, if they're paying for the advertising and they don't like the content, they are going to change it. And the people making the content are not going to bat an eye because they need that money,
Right.
you know. And then you
Right.
look at, like you said, the Hasbara, and the another one that opened my eyes was the documentary, The Occupation of the American Mind, and
Yes.
talk about the propaganda machine and the whitewashing. It's encouraging to see. I'm one of them, you know. Not only did COVID wake me up big time because I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And then what, 4 short years later, there uh is the situation on October 7th woke me up as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not alone, you know. Many people are waking up.
And
Wild.
I'm thinking, God, that there's some people are saying, you know what? I'm willing to come back to the table and ask a question because I think I signed something I wasn't supposed to. And I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I'm saying
I'd
is
like to reread my contract, please.
I want to reread the user terms of agreement, please. And we're over here going, okay, here's a highlighter. And we thought page 5, number
Wild.
article 26, and this would be interesting to you. And again, you can walk away. I'm looking at some of these people saying I'm trying to cancel my, what is it, that bond contract that they have where you're automatically a slave when you're born in the US.
Oh yeah, the straw man.
And I'm over here going, true, but as a Christian, you kind of already opted out because what a saint is, you're set apart from things of this world, hence
Yeah,
countercultural. I understand, yet there's a legality aspect, but Christ kind of cancels out all man-made legality.
sure.
And
Yeah,
if you stand by your guns, they're going to silence you anyway. So why waste your time and effort going about that route
yeah,
where you can just
yeah,
be like, I stand with Christ. Yeah,
yeah.
well, that
Well,
already
yeah,
irritates
yeah. You're
you.
gonna really use the legal system that is already corrupted, or you're
Yeah,
gonna, or you're gonna just say, okay, I'm not part. I'm dumping the whole thing.
right.
Yeah,
Right. And honestly, it's about learning the secret societies. It's about calling out what you do know, which again, why they didn't like Stephen the Martyr. He's over here exposing all of their history. Christ sat silent. By the time he died, people are like, you know what? Feet to the fire. I'm willing to call you all out now on my trial. Because
hmm,
you want to go? Let's go. Roll up the sleeves and call them out. And they hate that. They've always hated that. As I
hmm.
was telling you before, Klaus Schwab was saying one of the greatest threats to their movement is this movement of libertarianism because it promotes individualism, which makes people say, I don't need the government reliance anymore.
Yeah,
That scares them if they're going to try to implement universal income, as Elon has pitched, which is essentially digital communism. And
yeah,
people don't seem to know how to connect those dots yet. I keep telling people, look up Joshua Haldeman, his technocratic grandfather. Nobody wants to do that. It's like, I'm giving you a name. Now take about an hour or two, just that, and find out who I'm talking about. Look up the word technocrat, right? They don't want to do that. Instead, they give you a comment back of the fool as what this person wrote. And I says, just look into it.
yeah.
This is
Well,
the problem. If someone gives you a name, go and investigate.
hmm.
It's not like, oh, the military industrial
Yeah, take
complex.
a few minutes. It'll be
Right.
worth it. Like it's
Right.
not, I'm not sending you down a rabbit hole. Like this is some legitimate information that you need to put in your databanks for you to make decisions about yourself and or your family.
Right. And it's not vague like it's the elites, it's the military industrial complex, it's this. I'm like, no, it's Masons, it's the secret societies of Kabbalah. This is the stuff that they're implementing here. Right. I'm calling out names to the problem, not just giving you vague encrypted things that, like, even what's his name? If people are gonna hate me for this one, Alex Jones.
Yes.
Give me names, dude. You've been at this for
Yes.
20 something years. I think you can give me a name
Yeah.
at this point.
Well, they've been dancing around the bush for 20 years and or playing controlled opposition very
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you
And they
know.
give you radical left, radical left, radical.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear that, dude, I'm like, okay, how come you never talk about the radical right? Or we're not as bad as them.
Yeah.
I don't exactly see you as good as them either. And waking up as a conservative does not mean you're waking up. That
Yeah.
just means you've picked a side, right? You're seeing a little bit, I don't know. And even if you cross the middle barrier and you're just in like the toe in with the conservative group now, have you seen the other side of this stuff where they get really ugly and they start trolling people at colleges? Like, I liked the documentary, as you were mentioning, Amendment 13. Now, did I agree with
Mm.
their final solution or whatever? No, but it did explain the Democratic hardcore South during the Civil War, how and why they changed to die hard red. Because
Mm.
Reagan was wanting to implement his law, right? Truth law, whatever it was, I'm paraphrasing. And in essence, that converted the South of like law and order means we get rid of the immigrants and the drugs, right? Which the CIA was part of. And then
Mm-hmm.
that means we get rid of the undesirables. Now we have an incentive of pinning our bias on bad stuff, like good morals. We're being justified by good morals here, and we pin the blame on them. And this will
Mm.
justify lynching. This will justify hate crimes. This, right? And they did the same thing with the war on terror. Now we're scared of anyone from a Middle Eastern country, and we're saying they
Yeah.
all have that little element of extremism in them. And you don't? Do you hear you say
Yeah.
no?
It's wild, and I'm going to start diving into to that topic on my channel and in upcoming videos. I've watched a number of videos of Iran, and now I didn't watch videos of Iraq because I wasn't awake then, and I didn't watch videos of Libya and I wasn't awake then when the media machine was whipping up the storm of, oh my
Frenzy.
gosh, Saddam Hussein is basically an angry madman and he's got to go. And then they said Muammar Gaddafi's an angry madman that's got to go. And then but as you look back over time, you think to myself, oh, it's just a coincidence that both of those gentlemen were trying to about ready to sell their oil for gold. That's a real
Yeah,
interesting coincidence. And then now because we now appear to be at endgame and they're whipping up the media machine, and even Donald Trump is starting to say, well, Iran or this and Iran that. I watch
right.
videos of Iranian people, and they're just like me, going about their lives over there. They just
Yeah,
live in a different part of this earth, and that's what I want to start focusing and shining light of awareness on my channel. Is like, hey, Americans, before you believe what your media and your president is telling you about these Iranian people, you better go and check it out because this is the last one. I don't know if
right.
you've seen this article. They said, okay, I think it was in early 2000s, there were what, 5 or 7 countries left without a Rothschild central bank.
Yes, yep.
Iraq's gone now, Libya's gone. I think it's just North Korea and Iran. We're really at endgame. I mean,
Wow.
which is what they wanted, total world domination. And this is why I try to shake Americans proverbially and saying, look, I get it that you are inbred in circus mode. I've been there too, but you better wake up, and I mean quick, because there is a fire right at your doorstep,
Right.
and it is coming. You know, if we don't do something.
Good luck, dude. That's gonna get so much heat.
I mean, it could be. It is. It's one of those things like if your neighbor's house is on fire, you're going to be breaking windows, you're going to be slamming on doors, you're going to be sounding bullhorns outside to wake them up. I mean, and when you wake them up, you know what they're going to say? Thank you. Thanks for breaking all
Hopefully.
my windows. Well, hopefully, thanks
Yeah.
for, if they
You broke
appreciate
my
their,
windows, you meanie.
I mean, if they appreciate life, I mean, they're going to be like, thanks for throwing a brick through my window. I had
Right.
my headphones on, or I was in a daze. I'm like, I know you were. You couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all it is, dude. Is like, I'm not doing it. Just believe me, bro. I'm doing
Yeah,
it because I
just
saw
look into
during
it.
2020 how people they just started ignoring my feed. I don't buy all the oh, I just didn't see it, bro. You see it once in a while when I put a collage of selfies or wherever
Yep.
or for portraits of myself. You see that, but when I'm talking serious, where'd you go, man? Where'd you go? And it's been the same thing for the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You don't want reality to confront you because then it's literally at your doorstep, as you said. And you're over here saying, hey, I'd like to sell you a subscription of reality. If
Yeah.
you they're over here like, nope, I don't want to talk to you. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you not want to talk to me? Because it would force you to transform the way you currently perceive the world and how they're telling you to perceive the world, and justify how you're currently like your Christian nationalism. Like I saw somebody did a sign. I'm not sure if it was AI generated for the sign or it was a real sign, but it said Christian nationalism is the Western Taliban. And I'm like, yeah,
Ooh,
it is.
yeah,
And Christian nationalism is basically Sharia law wrapped in bacon and a Bible. That's sorry. I'm agreeing with that because we are the ones who can fly overseas and do what we do over there. We can actually do that on a full scale. We have the economy to do that. With them, they have to steal it, right? Then they
yeah,
have to get through all the airports. Then they have to make sure they have enough gas or oil to get across to get to the moat to get to us. Then they have to make sure that the second time around we don't have our air defense system going up, and they haven't been warned for the 2 or 3 hour flight that is to get overseas, and that nobody's noticed something. It's like, do you hear yourself right now?
yeah, yeah,
We are not at a threat. And when you finally look into 9/11, that makes start turning on all the other things of going, so the narrative they're pitching now, does that sound like it could make sense? No.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing. I do this myself because it's so outlandish. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, is this really happening? I mean, are we
Yeah.
really in this situation where countries are being, you know, put into chaotic situations just to protect the petrodollar, just to
Mhm.
protect the financial interests of a few people in the world? Is 99, it's because it's so crazy. It's 99% of humanity being enslaved and suffering and hurt to protect the interests of the 1% used by they use the puppets in the political, and you're like, yeah, it's really happening. And then you got to go down the list: 9/11, Iraq, Libya, the mess that it's just the early part of the 1900s in South America, raping and pillaging and stealing and
Yes.
robbing. I
Yes.
mean, uh on and on and on. October 7th, all the silly things that have been going on because it's so outlandish. I don't This is why I understand, because my awakening, since it just happened big time in COVID era,
Yeah.
I get where a person's at, and I understand the kid gloves you have to have with these people to go, hey, here's the list. I'm not, you write a few things down on a piece of paper. I'm going to slide a piece of paper across the table. You read it, and you just tell me all these things benefit a small group of people in the world. Do you
Hmm.
think that's coincidence, or do you think there could be a master plan at play, given the fact that trillions of dollars are at stake?
Right.
You know?
Right. And that goes into play with what I was telling you about with the guy that it's like, oh, another conspiracy. And then
Yeah.
you look on his Facebook profile, it's Captain Anarchy. And I'm immediately, no, you're Captain Dumbass, because here's the thing, like what you just said, or like what George Carlin has outlined, you really don't think there's a very little room of people with a lot of money
Yes.
that are not thinking of conspiring against the little guy,
Yes.
right? To funnel everything to be a system that is in their benefit, in their favor,
Mhm.
while the little guy keeps getting squeezed and milked and stuff like that. To paraphrase what he's saying, and I'm looking at can anarchy means to be against the system if you're not
Mhm.
Antifa, correct? Okay, so that means you're going to be against an elite group, a corporation that is doing things behind your back. So now you're telling me conspiracy does not connect with anarchy. You are a hypocrite, sir, because you have no definition of what that word means.
Yeah.
Basic. That's not even going into biblical with archons and anarchy etymology. I'm like, do you
Right,
hear
but the true
yourself right now?
fundamental, yeah, because isn't anarchy, whatever government system is in place, whatever one is ruling, they're like, we're going to trash it, right? And we're going to do
Right.
our own thing. Is that your understanding of anarchy?
Well, biblically speaking, archons used to be rulers of cities. So the Nephilim used to have districts, which again, freedom cities. You think they're building it for them, or you think they're
Yeah.
building it for their overlords that might come out with a cryptid thing? I don't
Not
know.
nothing they do. Well, in my experience, to answer your question, I know that wasn't nothing they do is for us.
Correct. And they're going to be cutting down a whole bunch of forestry. They just got a bunch of, all these rangers. I'm like, there's too many stories that I've heard. And now you're going to give
Mm,
districts, right? So anarchy means to be against the rulers. It doesn't mean we're unruly. We're just against the concept of it. Like you're saying, I don't have any
Yeah.
right freedom, individuality, individualism. Because we're again libertarian in sentiments, not political party. That's why it always falls. Because it's like, yes, the idea is good. The implementing of a party, no. It is about taking self accountability and responsibility for how you dictate your own household, your own roof. Because you, as a man, are supposed to be masculine and implement something of standards in your life. Personally, as a Christian, I try to do the thing with the Bible. And this is quoting
Yeah.
Joshua, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You guys do you, I'm going to do me. But what they're trying to do is anarchy. Oh, you just want absolute chaos. Who says there's going? You're telling me there's going to be chaos and warlords and stuff like that if I say I don't want a government. Our government is the warlord.
Amen to that statement. Truer words have not been spoken, and that is the thing that I wish every human being could pay attention to. Well, this is so funny to me. Like I look around and I sometimes feel like I'm on crazy pills because I look at objectively, subjectively or objectively,
Right, right, right.
Americans are, poorer, fatter, dumber, weaker, sicker,
Hmm.
more enslaved, more beholden to the government, because what now? Oh, whatever the choice the government makes, it directly impacts. Look at the recent stock market, down and then back up again.
Yeah,
We are more beholden to them, and people think we're going to come out of it. The trend is not going in our favor and hasn't been for decades.
yeah,
And yet people are like, yeah, no, I think we're going to be okay. I'm like, you are not paying attention. Like
yeah,
it's all about trends. If the
yes,
trend has been down for 7 decades or more, or since the very beginning, how many years you think it's going to take to get back out of it? Probably at least that many years. At least that many years. If it comes back out of it.
right. And then I'm looking. I think, yeah, the White House today says, "Do not retaliate, and you will be rewarded." I
And
don't care
to
what the
regarding what? Regarding
it doesn't specify. That's
oh,
just
just a
with the
blanket.
votes. It's like, okay, so I'm thinking immediately what Eric Trump posted. What they're gonna say is like, oh, that's not real. He
I didn't
wrote
see what he posted.
on January 26th. He said, "And all who dare to defy the American golden age, heed this warning: you will, all caps, lose. Toe the line, or we will run you down. The gloves are off, and they're not playing around this time. For now, it's tariffs, but trust me, we can and will do, all caps, so much worse."
What a weird. I think I did see a little bit of what
And he
a
deletes it within 20
silly.
minutes. They try to fact check it. I'm like, no, they're literally telling us, and then they're going to say it's the Mandela effect. You didn't see that.
Sure.
No, I know what I saw. And now I'm hearing what the White House just said. What does that mean? Are you telling
Yeah.
me specifically what's going on, and you're telling me do not challenge the system? Why can I not challenge the system? So
Yeah.
challenging my government is now anti-patriotic, is
Mm.
what you're telling me. Yes. Government, govern. Third, fourth definition, Oxford definition, control, to control. Ment, from the Latin, where we get the word mental from, right? Ment,
Mhm.
control, mind. Mind control. No, yeah. So if I'm
Yeah.
telling you I'm against the government, and we know the CIA does all this stuff with mind
Oh
control
yeah.
technology, you're now telling me that if I don't want to vote, I'm against the system, like they have in Australia. You have to vote, even if you just sign a donkey on there for the
No,
national thing.
brother.
You literally can,
You must participate with the collective.
yes. And I'm like, well, what if I don't want to wear the blue ribbon? Can I support the cause without support?
Oh
Where do we
man.
toe the line, people? Where do we toe it? And like you just said, it's constantly funneling us, and it's like what is it? What the gauntlet?
Mm.
Get hit with tariffs, get hit with taxes, get hit with this, get hit with that. And it's like, why am I still running this gauntlet if all I'm gonna do is get,
Yes.
and at the very end, you just bury my butt for,
Yes.
for going through your system. I'm not free. If I have to pay money to throw a worm into a pool of water, I'm not free. I am
Mhm.
paying you for permission to live my life. And that is not freedom. That is
Mm-mm.
codependent Stockholm syndrome. And people do not understand that because they've been
Mm-mm.
told you're free. And again,
That's what's
back to the
wild.
Jones plantation. You're
Yeah,
not.
and that's the thing. And I do give people a pass again because I've been there before. And
Right, right.
but at the end of the day, that what I feel is happening is in the beginning of any movement, the first ones they get the arrows in the back and they're and or ridiculed so much that they are personas non grata until it comes full circle. Then they're like, oh yeah,
Yes.
that person was a hero and a trailblazer, etc. The middle one, the middle ones that are like, okay, the landscape is changing. I want to be positioned because again, back to the fact that we are social creatures. The
Yes.
landscape is
Yes.
changing. There are things in play. I want to be aligning myself with truth and the right side of history
Mhm.
sooner rather than later. And some people are probably going to go, well, I'm going to align myself with whoever's going to win. But that's, as you and I've talked about a number of times, that's always a losing strategy because you're going to, because a lot of people are going to see, hey, they're going to wake up to what's going to happening and they're going to see, okay, you've been lying to me forever. I'm done with you. You are persona. People have and will ostracize people in our in humanity that have misled them and lied to them, just like from ancient civilizations. If you hurt the tribe, you are no longer welcome in the tribe. And what I'm seeing now is the people that are stubborn, driving their heels in, not gonna, they don't want to know, they don't want to learn. There'll be a point, a tipping point where you will they will be repercussions, either financial or social or whatever, to people that have folded their arms and said, I'm firmly against knowing what's happening in the world.
Yes.
It's an opportunity. It's like they call it like arbitrage. Like if you know something's going to happen and you can position yourself properly, again, for the good of humanity,
Mhm.
for people, and not to prop up a system just because you're getting paid from that system or because you're beholden to that system.
Right.
It's not a game. What it is, it's a very dangerous situation for people to be in if they do not align themselves with truth. You.
Right. And it's like truth humanitarian slash self accountability, right? Personal
Mhm.
responsibility starts with basic accountability. If you're not willing to take those three tenets just as your basics, you're not going to understand any of the other stuff that we transpire off of that. Like I was telling you with my buddy Jack, I'm telling him why I don't support Charlie Kirk, his buddy, his best friend who's asking me, because don't talk unless spoken to. I'm
Mhm.
saying he doesn't like. He's saying, yeah, those verses are justified about the Talmud with Christ boiling in hell, and he's like, turn that off. Why are you siding with Charlie on this? No, it's just not true. Have you looked into it? The guy is citation, right? That's a big one. Citation means it's documented. That's like me going to the Library of Congress saying this is the exact book. You can pull it out. It is proof that it has been published. That this is, it is out there. And you're telling me it just doesn't exist. No, it does exist. And the fact that somebody is talking like this in our society, you don't tell them just to shut up, or somebody who's, again, me, I'm sharing what somebody that you support is endorsing that is not too favorable towards the guy
Yeah.
in your faith, right? They're talking very bad about him. So would this not behoove you to learn, oh wait, there's people that think like that?
Mm.
Yes. To say no, what is that doing? That's putting a little hedge about yourself
Yeah.
and holding on to a binky saying, it's not happening. Well, I'm sorry, Linus. It is happening. And you
Yeah.
can't keep sucking on your thumb for the rest of your life. You have to grow up and you have to start defending what you believe in. And you have to start questioning, why do others not like what you believe in? And if you are saying to shut up about somebody that you think is believing the same thing you're believing, and you're telling them to shut up when they're adding a little bit more to what you do know in your worldview, right? And you're telling them to shut up, do we really believe the same thing?
Yeah.
The hypocrite, right?
Mhm.
And this is where I was
Mhm.
saying demons will tend to, like, don't have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, a demon will see an NPC and they'll speak through you.
Yeah.
They get mad because when truth is in their circle, or the anointing of somebody is speaking truth in their, they say no, because this is my stronghold.
Yeah.
And
It's
if you're
uncomfortable
right, because the
for
thing
them.
that possesses you most in your
Yeah.
mind and in your heart, that has your attention. Anything
Yeah.
that challenges that, I can't have you in my presence.
Yeah.
It's sad, but again, people like you and myself, I'm having to lose friends and family, and it hurts. But at the same time,
Mhm.
I would
Yeah.
rather stand with truth than side with fake people or
You
people who
have
don't
to.
want to examine
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, you know, you ultimately you have to, you cannot betray yourself or God or the truth. No one, it's never going to end well for people like that because people who betray the truth they carry that with them, and it fritzes with their energy and the health and wellness in their mind for
Yeah.
as long as, it's just like, when you keep a dark secret, or if you have something inside of you that is not aligned with truth and goodness, it will wreck you
Yes.
over time. And that's why
Yes.
people, this is why, maybe a person gets their livelihood from the government that is in place now, or their livelihood from say industries or certain corporations that are not doing good things for humanity. You could probably fill in the
Yes.
blanks with a number of them. uh, you may be gaining material wealth now from that funnel that's coming into you, but at what cost? At
Right.
what cost? you
You're
know
you're you're selling your soul every time you cast your vote.
yeah,
You're a statistic of gullibility saying, okay, you don't think again, this whole Maha thing. I'm seeing a couple people getting upset.
yeah,
I'm not upset. I try to eat healthy and
yeah,
do all this stuff without
yeah,
the
been
government
there,
needing
done
to
that,
tell
right?
everybody. Right. So it's like, if I already know this is all bad and you already know this is all bad, why are you now looking to a politician being put into political office
Yeah,
to fix your problem? And I'm
yeah.
chuckling because people are upset. And I'm over here like, I'm laughing at you. I don't mean to be mean, but I'm like, why do we need somebody, or we need a witch doctor in the tribe? Why? You're telling me holistic healing with the old lady
Is
now
given to one, yeah.
is not good enough? Well, no, we need to have him because he has closer connections with spirits or whatnot. That's kind of what
Yeah,
I'm seeing, dude. It's just
yeah.
like, somebody can be an expert in a field, but like, if you're a doctor, your one-on-one consultation is not recommending home remedies once in a while, outside of here, I'm
Hmm.
gonna push a couple drugs on you and you're stuck in the system for several.
Yeah,
Like I think you were telling me with your eye,
yeah,
level with me. How can I? What's some things that I can
yeah.
implement micro for myself, and maybe it will do something. Like with Doctor Sabi, I think he had
Hmm.
his fifth daughter. Or he fathered his fifth daughter when he was in his 60s and 70s because he changed his diet. He was
Hmm.
able to do that. He was not impotent. He was able to actually create another kid.
Hmm.
Same thing with Chuck Norris. Why? Because it's your diet. Now I want to ask
Yeah,
you, what are you doing? Because I want to do likewise, and I don't need the government to tell me how to do that.
yeah,
But you're so
yeah.
like, I'll shut up after this. But I
No.
saw one meme and it says you're so used to the concept where you, even when you're going to school, I have to raise my hand to go ask if I can go pee. That
Yes,
is where we're at.
yes. And even further than that, y- they want people to raise their hand and say, may I think for myself now, please? May I think for
Yes.
myself? And they're like, you may go ahead. But well, this is what's so interesting, Brandon, is uh many people are so looking outside of themselves for that hero, for that change person, for that
Yeah.
one that's going to fix the system, even though that person has never ever been there in off a political scene. Because again, Fostergram's pyramid of control. The power comes down from the top, and they're never working for the people at the bottom, the base of the pyramid. And so, but people go back to the well time and time again. And because those people are such good bullshit artists, the people at the bottom just keep believing them. But again, it goes back to what you said earlier, because they were told from the day they were born that, you live in a free country and this country works for you and you have freedom and you this or that. uh, you go over to a place like Palestine or a place in a third world country, they're not told that. They're
Yeah.
told, "Hey kids, watch your back every day. Don't mess around." Like those kids know how the world really is. And I talked about this before too.
Yeah.
America is the biggest propagandized nation on the planet, and I never saw it until COVID times.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with us. We just think it's for our good. Pay your taxes or
Yes,
you go to jail. You're
yes.
extorting me, right? Taxation is theft. Theft is like, yeah, it's the same thing. You're telling me if I
Hmm.
don't comply that I am against the government, which,
Yeah,
yeah,
nobody wants to, I want to be a good citizen. I don't want to ruffle feathers,
I want to own a
No,
home. I want to do this. And like
yeah,
we said before, in the movies, like I was saying, Thunderheart, because a lot of Val Kilmer clips are going around. What was the end of that movie? I'm challenging the system, and guess what? The tribe shows up with guns, pointing at you
that's
guys with guns, and
great.
we're saying
Yeah,
we're done. When you look
right.
at Braveheart, freedom, yeah. Well, I'm challenging the king. We're not doing it his way anymore. We just want to be
Hmm.
doing our own thing. Thank you very much. The Hunger Games. It's constantly we look at the hero, like V and Vendetta. We always look at the hero. You guys do it for me. Somebody else stand up. And when the real person does it in real time, You're a conspiracy theorist. You're over.
Yes.
How dare you say that? Right? Because you think you're part of the resistance, the rebellion in Star Wars. It's like, no, you're the bucket head.
I am so glad we're on this topic because and we talked about this the other night too. I love looking at mainstream movies and culture and storytellers because, as
Yeah.
Plato said, storytellers rule society. Those who tell
Yes.
stories rule society. And that is how we've been brainwashed and ruled, is these stories in our mind. Oh, America's free. Oh, this land of opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. All of those topics, all of those movies that you just brought up, I would love to get your opinion on what is going on with this notion of, we see it play out on and again. Matrix,
Right.
Braveheart, like you said, Val Kilmer's movies, V for Vendetta.
Yep.
We see it play out on and on again, where they lay it exactly out what we really should be doing. Are they doing that to tease us and toy with us? And or is it some type of a mind control trick to give us that feeling of standing up, even though most people never stand up? What's your thoughts on why that theme is so common in so many movies of rebellion, and then in the real world, very little rebellion?
Yeah. Well, I was, again, this was way back when I wrote this one. I said a poet and a philosopher will always be a politician's worst nightmare because they
Mm,
understand the meaning of words and the mortality of our lives. It ruins the whole illusion of double speak because, like I said, you can put it to art and lyrics. Like you said, magicians can save humanity, right? Because I'm bringing it in a melodious sound of how stupid and the
yeah.
hypocrisy of what you're defending, or banned in the USA. I'm calling it out, right? I am calling it out. It's happening
Hmm.
in real time. They're telling me that the only way I can change the system is rebel against it. That is the very definition of the American Revolution, right? And they said, we have the right to protest. But the minute Shay, from Shay's Rebellion, gets these former revolutionaries saying, we want our back pay that is owed to us, that you said you would pay us back at some point. Now we want our money back and our interest for services rendered. You're sending the United States Army, the military, the federal government to silence me. When I
Hmm.
protest in the Capitol about what's going on in the Middle East, you see them being escorted and hauled out. Why? Because, like you just said, I truly believe they are, in a sense, taunting us because they do know the only way you're going to, quote unquote, beat the system is you have to stand up to it. And if you
Hmm.
don't stand up to it and you have this illusion like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a nice fairy tale, but everything in the Bible, Goliath, you're not calling out my God like that. And I'm going to go get a stone in a brook and five more for your brothers if they want to show up too. And I'm going to take you down. Right? Jeremiah, listen, I'm the one guy in town. And I'm telling you, if you don't stop, you don't tell your people to change, we're going to get sacked by Babylon. Is there anything else we can do aside from that? No. But like, constantly throughout there, it's the same story. Stop looking to a hero of man, start turning to God, and start, like, again, rebel against what is evil. And I'm not saying in the
Yes.
Bellarmine aspect that, in order to have freedom and the blood of patriots. No, I'm saying get away from me and mine. I don't want to
Hmm.
be part of that. I am done being part of that. And
Yes.
if you want to come and hurt me and mine, well, then by golly, I'm going to defend myself in so doing. So I
Hmm.
think in a sense, it's both what you just said. It's somewhat of a taunt and it's somewhat of an explanation of this is kind of how you should be doing it. But instead of doing it with guns, we should be doing it with our character, aka testimony of a Christian.
Hmm.
And nobody's doing that. We've been stultified and purposely nullified from not doing that with dispensationalism and the Darby rapture aspect, because people now have this entitlement that I live in the land of the free. I'm going to go against the war against
Yeah.
all of God's chosen people.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, I get taken out before
Yeah.
things get really bad. Sign me up for that
It's
package.
such a deep level of psychosis. It is like,
Yes.
what fairy tale land do you live in? And it is like, but it's so comforting.
Yes.
How could it not be comforting to be told you can have all the cake you want and you can eat it too?
Yeah.
And then at the end, you don't have to experience any BS.
Right. It's like
It's so wild.
it literally is Animal Farm. Just
And I
keep
need to
trusting
watch
the
that again.
master.
It's been a long time. I need to rewatch that.
Yeah, it's just keep trusting the master. He'll keep feeding us. He'll keep doing that. And then somebody comes along and says, I could do better. And then again, a populist. I can fix the system. In the meantime, yeah, I just saw a clip today. It was like 20, 30 seconds. He's saying, like, this person just made a whole lot of money with the stock market crash. So you're
I
telling me
thought about that.
billionaires are making more money now because people are suffering. And you literally said 4 hours later, you signed this thing to pause it, saying now is the time to buy. So that means now everything just went back up. And
I
you're,
thought about when I found out that because I don't watch the news, but when I found out that he paused it apparently and the market went up an astronomical amount, I was like, the first thing that came to my mind, because this always happens, I was like, somebody made a lot of money.
yes,
Or some people
yes.
made a lot of money.
And you watch these movies
Yeah.
when they're showing us like Wolf of Wall Street and all this stuff, like how do they play the system?
Yeah.
And then we're literally telling you this is happening right now in real time. Oh
Yeah.
no, no, it's not. And I know economics better than you. Obviously, you don't. And that's where
Yeah.
I'm saying is they've even deceived us with economy. Yeah,
Hmm.
whoever has the most money is the top guy. And I'm like, no, whoever has a good family and actually is living what they believe,
Yeah.
go to the West, right? That's the guy I want to side with
Hmm.
because you're living by what you say. Money and that doesn't mean much to me. If I have family and a good character that's like people have nothing evil to say of me, that's what I want because that is the ultimate wealth at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
especially when it's blood money. At that
Yeah.
point in time, you're like, okay, bro, I'd rather live in a hut down by the river than partake of any of your blood money that was gained on the back of hurting and harming people, my fellow brothers and sisters in another part of the world. So you could take it. I'll just go off here and do my own thing, you know. But the one thing I want to circle back to is talking about this rebellion. One thing that I felt during COVID times was when in 2020, I didn't know what they were up to. I just knew they were up to something because, I mean, you see the pattern. You're up to something. You're always up to something. You're always gaming and angling. Also, brother Theo, I forget his last name. He runs Unplug 'em
Yovan?
YouTube. Not Theo Vaughn. He runs Unplug 'em YouTube channel. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He talks about the music industry extensively and the satanic nature and the way they manipulate the minds. And he said something very profound. He said if you don't read and you don't investigate, you're going to be easily gamed over and over again. They'll run game on you all day long. And when I look at the federal government and the people that run this world, they're running game on us all day long. That stock
Yes.
market crash, the 2008 collapse, game. And then they've got other side games. Education is they're gaming people in the education system. They're gaming people in the healthcare system. They're gaming people in the food and drug. Game. What dawned on me during COVID times was rebellion can be doing nothing. Like you've asked
Yes.
me to do something, I'm non-action and I'm rebelling against you in the most profound way you've ever heard. Enough for Joe Biden to come on stage in September of 21 and go, "Our patience is wearing thin with you."
Yes.
That is not a throwing down of the gauntlet and overt aggressive verbal action against people. Right then and there, I knew the game had gone to the next level, and it
Yes.
confirmed everything that I thought about prior. But it was a silent, actionless rebellion. You didn't have to pick up a sword. You didn't have to pick up any weapon. You just had to do nothing, and it put a huge dent in their little machine, their little game
Yes.
machine. Huge.
And I remember I was at my job and they were coming through, they were going line to line to line at the factory. And they're saying you need to basically tell me if you got the miracle juice or not. And
Wow.
you need to basically, do this or you're going to lose your job.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, tough luck for them because I'm not doing it. Well,
Yeah.
it's a president thing, man. You got to, I'm like, I don't give a crap if it was the emperor of the world that signed that.
Like
I'm
president of the company or the president, they were throwing
president of the
the
United
card in
States.
front of you. Yeah. They're
That's
like, "Oh,
literally
the
what he says.
president's
Like,
told
I'm the
us."
president of the
You're
United
like,
States.
he's not my, I'm not beholden to him.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, one, I don't vote. Two, not my president.
Yeah.
Three, that's tyranny because you're
Yeah.
forcing me to do that, or I'm going to lose my income. And this is where some people say, "Oh, Brandon, you can't be so hard on people who got it blah 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 because," and I'm thinking, listen, my job was on the line too. And luckily, like 2, 3 weeks later, some judge
Yeah.
says that's illegal what he was doing. And I'm like, so
Yeah.
I held my ground. But I was willing to stand up and say, no, even if it costs me my job, I am not forcing
Hmm.
myself to compromise my self integrity to
Yeah.
say I'm doing it because I want to keep my money coming in. I did not compromise. I did not bow. I did not bend the knee. And I'm proud of myself and those
Mhm.
who as well said, you know what? I don't have to say anything. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Well,
Kudos.
like I was talking about earlier, whether everyone wants to admit it or not, again, some people still believe that that was the right thing to do, and they're still doing it, But
Yeah.
but the people who are awake to, again, they're running so many games. People are waking up at different points in the chronological time frame.
Right.
What
Right.
some people woke up in early 2000s when those buildings came down. Some people woke up in the 2008 collapse, and all you got to do is peel back the layers and go, oh, there's some funny stuff going on in here. I don't
Right.
trust any of you guys. So they're gaming. People waking up again. Like I said, the sooner you wake up, the more, I guess, for lack of a better word, good faith and you have amongst your fellow human beings. Because again, the people that are going to lead the tribe are the people that are making good decisions, have good information and good intelligence, a good connection to the source of God, and doing their homework.
Yeah.
Because the tribe doesn't want to get into trouble. No one wants to get hurt.
Hmm.
And if they see people, they're like, oh, you seem to be knowing what's going on. Yeah, you put work and time in, and also you use your
Yes.
intuition, your discernment. They're going to follow these people, and they're not following, like we talked about prior. Hollywood's losing favor.
Right.
Their people are waking up. Music industry losing favor. Politicians losing favor because the people have literally seen that they've hurt not only our country but humanity. I mean, it's coming down. The house of cards is coming down.
For 32 million Christian Americans saying we're not voting this time.
Mm,
Wait, so you don't okay, so you don't want Biden and or Trump. Okay, good. But
yeah.
32 million, and then there was a good portion. I think was it 73 for Trump, 72 for Kamala million, and then they were saying whatever was in between were all people who just didn't vote in general.
Mm,
So that's like what, another 40 or whatever. I don't
hmm.
know the exact statistic. I think we're a total of 300
Right.
whatever. So you're
Yeah, I
telling
think so.
that much of a number either one doesn't care about politics, which again,
Could be some in there,
there's
but
there's not caring about politics as in you're literally just clueless about the world in general.
yeah,
More power to you. You're my dating pool. Weep for me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
or or you're actually an individual who has woken up and you're just saying, I don't play your stupid game anymore.
Mhm.
Right? And that's where I'm over here going, good. Because now we can work with that. And now we're having a lot
Yeah.
of people, at least 1/3 of his fan base, quote unquote, they're starting to go, dude, stop it. I didn't vote you in for this because they're at least smart enough for this. They're going, I did not vote you
Yeah.
in to kill my Medicare and my Social Security. I did not
Mhm.
vote you in. Like, it's good. It's healthy.
It's very healthy.
And I'm chuckling because people are saying if he was supposed to be an antichrist figure, wouldn't he be like well liked and stuff like that? No, because if he's anti-Christ, wouldn't he be the antithesis of Christ?
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
manner he goes about of doing things is in complete opposite of what Christ does? He was peaceful, he was unassuming, but when he did say something, he ruffled the feathers. The other one is saying,
Mhm.
"Do it. I'm passing it. I'm doing
Yeah.
it on my own hand. I'm the best at this. I'm the best at that."
I'm the
Right?
chosen one. Yeah.
Right. Right. I'm like, do you see the contrast? Doesn't mean he has to be like, no, but he
Mm.
enforces you have to like me or else you submit to my tariff and compromise whatever you do as a sovereign country or else,
Mm.
right? So this is the thing is that you're bullying people into accepting you, whereas the other one is saying, I'm giving you a free choice. I'll be right over here if you want to join me,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to force myself on you. But this is what my followers do, and this is how they live, and this is what they're expecting in eternity by submitting to what I said. Don't go to the
Yeah.
kingdoms of men. Do not elect princes that I did not select. I think Hosea 8:4 was saying. I'm like, yeah, guys, it's in there, but we just are not bothering to read the things outside of child sacrifice with Baal. What was grieving God's heart? He's constantly
Yeah.
condemning the nations for what they do. And don't be like the other nations and what they do. I'm going to the symbolism and anthropology with my personal route and information that I'm uncovering. And people get mad at me. And I'm going, I'm just showing you what's always been there and how we're doing it today. And you're getting mad at me because you yourself, you make the compromise to keep the perpetual lie going. And like I was saying before, it's like my mom. You have the chance to leave this relationship for your benefit and the kids. And you say, no, I'm going to
Yeah.
drown my troubles behind a bottle as opposed to confront the situation head on. Right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
tragic, dude. And that is the most of our world today.
It is, and on one hand, it's hard to blame someone, when you think of someone either, and I think of the big two, government and religion controlling
Yeah.
people. And
Yeah.
and if you are a believer in government for whatever reason, again, you believe the lies for so long, and then you get it is like a web. You get so entangled in the web that you're like, well, if I cut myself out, I will could lose social standing, could lose
Mhm.
family relationships, could lose friendships, could lose jobs. It becomes almost like I'm so entangled in the web, I'm literally not going to, you know, it's a big person to go, you know what? I'm walking away from all of it for the truth. That
Yeah.
is no small feat. And I don't Brandon, I got to be honest with you. I sometimes think about the situation that you and I in, and many people are in. It's a gift and an opportunity to be in a position to not have to make that kind of a choice. Do you ever
Yeah.
think about this? Granted, it's not like we're wine and roses. I did a video the other day talking about, it isn't wine and roses out here trying to wake people up and turn people back to truth and get people to think for themselves and tune into their purpose and their mission in life and stop enriching the beast system and being a cog
Yeah.
in that wheel. It's not all fun and games, but I can't imagine doing any other work right now at this point in time, you know?
Yeah, dude. What you were just saying with spiders, I wrote something. The world is caught up in a web of lies and nobody seems to care about the spiders. And as
Mm,
you just said, sometimes it's that classic little comedy
right.
sketch that we'll see at the woman screams and says, "Oh, there's a spider," and the guy, and I'm saying I'm playing on a trope. I'm not saying everybody can't
Mm-hmm.
defend yourself against a spider, but it's that concept of, yikes, there's something really creepy crawly over there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go slay that for me? And I'm not shaming anybody. I'm just saying I'm playing on the trope. And it's like, yeah,
Sure.
this is the thing, is what you're saying. There's a monster, the swamp, right? There's a swamp over there and I'm afraid to go in the swamp and confront it myself, right? But this is what
Yeah.
movies are made of. Somebody, the
The, he-
hero,
the hero's journey.
the
Yeah.
band,
You're going to
yeah,
answer the call and go in.
they hear, oh, there's a challenge. There is an adversary, or like any movie in Hollywood. If you go want to go with Johnny Depp's the Huntsman or whatever with it when he goes after the what's his
Yeah.
face, the headless horseman.
The headless horseman.
It's the same premise of, okay, something creepy's going on around
Yeah.
here. We need a hero to save
It's
us because
scary.
we don't know how to think for ourselves, or there's not somebody in the community that can fix this for us. So we're going to send the hero who's unknown to us. And a lot of people tend to hate the hero, or they're saying, what you're doing, it's nobody's ever done that before. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a love-hate relationship with the hero, right?
right. Everybody hates the hero until after the hero gets success. Then everybody at the end of the movie is like,
Yeah, we
yay,
believed in him all along. We knew he could
right.
do it.
And it's like, no. And I would almost be tempted to do a movie on that, just playing on
Yeah.
that stereotype of kind of like the boys with Amazon with the superheroes. They are jerks behind,
Yeah.
and show that trope of, yeah, you're calling me the hero. I'm just over here, like, I'm here to collect some coinage to slay your said beast like a witch or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, but you don't care about me. You're scared because the thing's attacking you, and y'all's
Yeah.
ain't
You're
got the guts
using
or
me
the know-how to
ultimately.
do it yourself.
Yeah. And you don't want to do it, and you don't want to do it, so you're
Right,
trying to find someone to go do it. And well, and that's another thing that I think about a lot also, because I'm so passionate about helping people get on their mission and their purpose, because
right,
I believe that's how we heal the world, is when you are doing the thing that God created you to do in the world, and it's not the thing that the beast system says needs to be done.
right,
Because the beast
right,
system says, hey, just come and work for the pharmaceutical industry. It'll be all good. What are you doing for them? It doesn't matter. Just either sell their products or make their products. And you've seen the television commercials. I can't even understand how many new pharmaceutical industry products that are being spun off over the last 2 years. Have you seen this? And then you
Yes.
you go to people and you're like, look, do you understand that what are these products? What are they doing? What are the side effects? I mean, it's wild to look at it. But then that's what the world wants. Or the world needs people to police people that are going against the system. That's not healthy for humanity. Or
Right.
work for a pharmaceutical company, or work for media, or work in politics, or work for any manner of government. The snake is eating itself now. I mean, when for
Yes.
government to keep growing, it's tearing into the people that aren't working for the government, and that can only go so long. And then
Mhm.
it is end game. you
And
know?
it's ironic that that's kind of their symbol, either the Ouroboros or the full snake literally eating its,
Yeah, circle.
is in a sense they kind of acknowledge my way of thinking is going to consume itself up.
I know, I know. And it's right there in front of it's been in front of our eyes all along, but it takes people
Yes.
like yourself talking about it, and also for people to have like a wake-up call of, hey, something isn't right. The
Yes.
something that wasn't right in 2020 was when my government came on the scene all of a sudden out of the blue and said they care about my health and well-being,
Hmm.
when for decades they've allowed the Federal Food and Drug Administration to put the
Yes.
most ridiculous stuff in food anyone could imagine. And so I
Yes.
was like, who are you and what'd you do with my government?
Why are you
Incongruent.
offering me a donut and fries to do what you asked me to do? I find
Yeah.
this very sus.
But then I had to think to myself, I'm like, okay, people who don't know what the food and drug don't know food and nutrition, again, a gift. It's like a divine gift from God that I was studying food and nutrition for 20 years and realized they put some wildly unhealthy stuff in the food: corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, dyes, sugars, hydrogenated, all of it, on and on. And then when they came on and said they care about health and wellness, I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you lying to people? But people who don't have that information, again, it goes back to just like the CIA does. Acquiring information is their primary purpose because they know knowledge is power, and intel is the game. And but when you try to convince a quote unquote layperson out here, in the world, that you need to operate like the CIA every day and acquire intel, or you could get yourself in a real bunch of trouble. They look at you like you're crazy because
And
they're
it,
so back to Animal Farm. They're so domesticated. They're
yes.
like they're so docile. They're like just do believe anything, and I'm like, you are in peril, my friend.
And for somebody who wants to hit you back with saying, well, I don't want to be like thinking like the CIA, the Bible even says, be ye wise as serpents.
Ooh, that's good.
That's not, again, that's the Bible.
If that
Expose
if that
evil.
doesn't say it
Hebrews
all right there,
5:11.
I don't
Right.
know what.
It,
Yeah.
like you learn the art of double speak, not to do it,
Wow.
but you understand it. You learn books
Yes.
like Robert
Yes.
Greene, which I highly recommend anybody buy some Robert Greene, just
Yes.
to understand, because he gives you a history lesson, application, and the takeaway. This is not necessarily how you should think, but it's how they think.
Wow,
And you
Brandon.
understand how your culture is being implemented. Maybe there's something in there, just human psychology in general, like, how to win friends and influence people. I think that's a great
Yes.
resource. The original edition, I think the updated one's a little meh, but
They
uh,
water it down. Yeah.
well, they I like the older of
The,
application of the stories that they're using, because for
mhm.
me it connects to what was, as opposed to trying to apply it to the
Yes.
modern now. It feels a little, because it's been so reconstructed and
Yeah,
reconfigured the way our modern world is, that I kind of like going back to, okay, 1930s, let's try to put myself in this,
I
it
do
brings me
too.
back to an era of what was.
I agree, and some of the story, they're very poignant. They're very clear. Yeah, sometimes things get lost as we try to update it.
Yeah, and dude, that's why I also invest in like witty words and phrases. Why do
Mhm.
we say this, caught red-handed? This, like, I buy this because we hear it all the time. Why do we say that? Where does that come from?
Mm.
Right? Like I said before, we don't look into the definitions. We don't look into where things come from. But it's a common phrase that we say all the time. Now, isn't there anybody in the village able to tell me the story of where this comes
Hmm.
from? And that's somebody
Hmm.
where yourself and I, we come along, we're like, come to the campfire, my children, and we'll sit around, have some cocoa, and I
Yes.
will tell you the story of old, of where this comes from. And sometimes comedy. There's some comedians, they're doing philosophy on a stage,
Yes.
and they're making it humorous for you to go, yeah, that is kind of
Hmm.
weird in our society. And I like the personal application you brought up of a funny
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know what the phrase that comes to mind as you were talking about that is the devil is in the details. And what did they do during COVID? They're like, don't worry about the details. We got you covered. I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys are sketching me out. It was all just like, just do it. We gotta, the other things that I've talked about this a number of times on my videos, and because again, you know, you and I, we just want to help people. I'm telling them,
Yes.
if they are using fear or rushing, you need to be very cautious about what they're pushing because fear
Exactly.
shuts down the mind and rushing doesn't give you an opportunity to get your center and get your grounded. And I hope people hear it. I would shout it from the mountains if I could. Fear and rushing are their two favorite weapons.
You always listen to everybody else talk, you'll never be able to hear yourself think. Another one that I came up with.
Yes,
Because
good one.
sometimes doing the stuff we do, it's really ugh. Like I said, you were asking me, I watch comedy and or I like going to a park just to read
Yeah, yeah.
for rest. And just getting away from it all for a moment just to process.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'll put the book aside, I'll watch the brook go by, I'll watch some animals playing. This is this is for me, is what we're supposed to do is reflect,
Yeah.
right? And just take a moment, you know what? Say, God, thanks for the cool breeze. Thanks for what I'm seeing right now. Again, worship. That's I think is true worship because you're saying thank you for what you do have, the
Hmm.
good that spreads out through all the dark little cobwebs that you have to live in constantly. But you also just sit there and process. I don't want to talk to somebody to tell me what to think today. I don't want to listen to a political pundit.
Yeah.
I just want to sit here and think, what's the good side in all this? What am I
That's a
grateful
good
for? As you
point,
said,
Brendan.
gratitude is
Yeah.
our currency. Gratitude
Hmm.
and I think truth, I think would be our it's a transparency to say, you know what? I'm grateful for having you in my life. I'm grateful for what I do have. It's not about money,
Hmm.
right? I think there's some quote I see frequently around Thanksgiving. Being thankful is not about how much you have. It's just being grateful for what you do have. To
Mm.
paraphrase something like that. And I'm like, yeah,
Good.
I don't need max amount. I'm happy with what I have right now. Am I happy if I get something else? Sure, but it's not what I strive for in life. I remember I told a guy one time in college, I says, "Yeah, money doesn't motivate me." And he's literally like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, that is true blasphemy in a fallen world.
Yes, he literally again, classic Cali kid with the haircut and all this stuff, and he just sits
How
there and he's
dare you?
yeah, he's like, "What do you mean, bro?" And I'm like, "Yeah, do I do
Uh,
again for me? I'm making ends meet, so yes, I'll do an odd job
right.
like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to get $20,000 in my bank account to feel secure.
Hmm.
I'm okay with dying tomorrow. I'm not going to be around for my burial. I don't
Hmm.
care where you chuck me. It's like it's
Yeah.
body. What I want to know is I lived and I got as much as I could and shared as much as I could with others. And unfortunately, a lot of the people I'm trying to help, they get mad at me.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm at the point I'm done arguing. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
block you because you literally are reading what I am trying to do as an olive branch to say, hey, I have come halfway to meet you. I didn't like what I saw. And you're still mad at me. You're still writing the things. And then you're throwing more slander at
Hmm.
me as opposed to unpacking. Maybe there's something there that you just mentioned that I'm not coming to meet you halfway. So yes, go away. You're not willing to
Yeah.
come and talk. So why am I going to bother to listen to what you have to say? Right?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and a good friend of mine said something I thought was very profound. This was about a year or two ago when I was in the mode of like, why won't people listen? Why won't they wake up? Why don't they see this thing that I see, that you see, that many others see? And she goes, "Well, Mark, they're sleeping.
Yes.
They're in a slumber. You're agitating them. It's kind of like when you come out. I equate it to when you come out of anesthesia. No
Mm,
one wants the nurse to be going, you got to wake up, you got to wake up, because it feels so good in the anesthesia. And you're just like, no, I'm so comfortable in this anesthetized state, which a lot of people are, and we've all been there to a degree. And so it really struck me, and I thought to myself, gosh, she's right. I'm the nurse agitating this person that doesn't want to wake up. maybe I can find a more creative way to do it, which you and I have a lot talked about, theatrical, humor,
Mhm.
whatever. Because if you know, whisper into that person's ear and says, "Hey, I guess I'm going to have to eat this chocolate cake all by myself," you know,
Yeah.
that's a much better way than going, "You need to wake up." Something, get creative, because you got to like work with the situation instead of trying to, you know, jar them. And it really did change my tune. And that's why I also think about, as you do, you know, how can I package this medicine in like a sugar cookie and shove it down their throat, you
Right.
know, whatever needs to happen.
And we get it. We that's the thing, dude. There's a lot of compassion in being the content creator that's not funded by some sort of corporate thing.
Yeah.
Because we're over here going, what I just uncovered is incredibly overwhelming. How do
Yeah.
I take what I just like I took the hit. Now I'm gonna turn around and be like, oh boy, how are
How can I
uh
package this?
yeah, it's like King, the news is not good. But yeah,
Do you want the bad news or do you want the really bad news?
you're right. And how do I make this enjoyable
uh,
so that you're able to digest what I'm about to present?
yes.
Because the other guys are going, I ain't touching that.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Yeah.
know you don't want to talk about it, or you're intentionally trying to say, not, no, just keep trusting me, oh king with the soothsayers. And
Mhm.
no, somebody has to deliver the bad
Yeah,
news. And
this has to be told. Mhm.
if you have to, get in a little, jester costume and be the goofball in order
Mhm.
doofus to, like if my antics make you laugh, cool. But did the message resonate?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
was I able to get it in there without you getting offended? Right? You're over here going, wait, this is a thing? Yeah. Oh, we need to address that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if it's not my place, that's on you. And again, this is not for a king, it would be like, how am I going to, but as an individual, when you confront them, how are you going to find a solution for it? And I constantly see what we get for our efforts. We get put in the laughing stocks and they throw
Yeah.
their tomatoes, their eggs, and they do all their little jeers and gestures and
Yeah. Some do.
comebacks because they don't appreciate the art of what we're doing and what we're going up against. We're going up
Hmm.
just like with the propaganda machine from
Yeah.
2020. We're going up against a
Yeah.
multi-billion, and I'm saying internationally, I'm not just saying a million as in America. We're going billion of
Yeah.
keeping a narrative and lie going of what and how they want per culture to think and interpret things. They don't
Yeah.
want you to understand about economic warfare. They don't want you to understand about proxy wars. They don't want you to understand the economy. They want you stupid about history. But
Hmm.
when somebody says, "Hey, that's a conspiracy theory. You're a hateful. You're anti-Semitic. Oh, you're against the
Hmm.
what? No, 'cause I'm challenging the system, and challenging the system is my greatest gift to this world. Because guess what? Everybody likes to conform to it, and I'm over here saying, why are we doing? I'm the Samuel from Jones Plantation.
Yeah.
We are the Samuels from the
Yeah.
Jones Plantation saying, do you guys hear how this sounds? And if you have to kill me
Are you
for
seeing
asking the
this?
question, then so be it. You know what?
Yeah.
I'd rather die. All right, give me liberty and give me death. I
Yeah.
would rather die for truth than to live your life,
Oh, for
which is of a
sure.
dead man.
100%. Yeah.
They're all zombies
100%.
now, dude. They're all zombies. I
Yeah.
can't even go to Walmart. I was I told my buddy I had to call him because I was this close to being the guy from falling down.
Were
I'm
you?
I'm sitting in the I'm in this checkout, and I usually go self checkout, but it was booked. I was like, you know what, whatever. This lady, God help me, she was very slow at doing her thing. Maybe she had issues. I was like, all right,
Hmm.
just suck it up. Lady in front of me has a screaming kid in the cart. Blah blah blah. He's acting up. About 4 or 5. He's doing all the classic things, and I'm just like, this is the lack of a father figure in your life. But what?
Yes.
And then this lady comes up behind me and she starts putting her stuff on the little conveyor belt. And she starts pushing it literally right next to my stuff. I said it might be good just to leave 2 or 3 inches just so she doesn't confuse our items. She says
Hmm.
no, it's fine. I'm like no, it's not freaking fine. And like she's 60 something years old at least.
Yeah.
How do you not know perfect store etiquette? There's other people. You're just standing in the middle of the aisle and not pushing to the side. It's like basic things, dude.
Brainless. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
self-awareness. Yeah.
self-awareness, just perfect etiquette,
Yep.
basic etiquette for
Yeah.
how you handle yourself in society. And we can't even do that in a
Yeah.
store.
Good point, Brandon. Good
And now
point.
you're getting into politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
don't have
well, you know, and that illustrates a good point. of where some people are at. If they're that's like level one,
Yeah,
and you expect them to go to level 10, you're like, we've talked about this too, is like being recruiters of soldiers or warriors in the information war, in the spiritual war that is happening in the world. It's like, okay, you're not cut out for information warfare
intel.
10.
Yeah,
You would be a great, whatever, there's a place for everybody in the battle,
yeah.
but not, unless people are going to put themselves in the places they want to be, you know,
Well,
and
and I think
where they
as
did, yeah.
as we've defined where we feel we fall on the scale, just with self-reflection.
Hmm.
For me, it's seeing the average grunt foot soldier that I'm
Hmm.
chuckling because I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't have to just march right in front of their artillery. There's a way to get behind enemy lines. Granted, it's going to be a little bit rough,
So
but you
true.
can do a lot more damage as guerrilla warfare
Right.
or
Be
being a
smart.
vigilante, right? As opposed to just being a grunt and you're just doing because, it, do
Yeah.
you do something ish? But at the same time, there's more casualties in that
Yeah.
particular field as
Yeah.
opposed to let's think strategically here. How can
Yeah.
I do the most amount of damage without courting the attention of a superior force? And
Yeah.
I wrote
It's
that.
a,
I wrote that
ex
in my book too. I said I have no intention
that's
of
great.
courting the attention of a superior force. Why? Because you get the attention of the superior force, they're going to zero in and obliterate your entire.
Yes, Brandon. That is
They
so
have the artillery to do so.
it is so funny you say that. But again, you and I are kindred spirits in many ways, because we think along the lines of that same thing. The way I think about that is, I go back to the CIA and their covert action, and I think to myself, I want to deliver my message, but I don't want to draw attention. I want to do it in a covert way,
Mm,
secret. It's like spy game, to be quite honest, sometimes. And
yes.
that's what, because you're right. You do not want to draw the attention of the people that have done heinous crimes against humanity for a long time, because they'll do a heinous crime against you.
Mhm.
And they have, and they will, you know.
And that I think the kindred spirit, that is just a gift of the spirit because there are two major religions, quote unquote, in the world. One is desperately trying to keep their followers asleep, and the other, like Christ in Gethsemane, wake up,
Hmm.
because in the end they call them sleeping bridesmaids in the Bible
Yeah,
towards the end days. Why? Because you have no Holy Spirit discernment, aka the normie. And again, I'm laughing because that same rhetoric today, wake up, America. You'll see hashtags or wherever. Yeah,
yeah,
this is what we're telling you. It's that bad. And most people are going, what do you mean I'm a normie? What's an NPC?
yeah.
And it's sad because then again, we have to break that down, re-explain
Hmm.
what that is, because we're trying to get an analogy across a pop culture and telling you that's you. All you are is
Hmm.
programmed to do what you do behind the counter. And I'm
Yeah,
trying to tell you there is so much fun if you download these hacks to the game,
yeah.
right?
And
And then they get
rewrite your program and upgrade
right.
your
Challenge
software.
the Matrix, quote unquote.
Yeah,
And the Matrix, not as in what they're telling us that we're all living in a simulation. The Matrix, as in this is what they're programming you to
yeah.
do, and
Hmm.
you don't think outside of what they tell you to do. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a simulation because
No.
you are self-programming yourself to in compliance.
Yeah, you're a lot. The way I look at it, people, and I know, and I myself, back in the past, I allowed them to program me.
Yes, yes.
The one of the things that I think is very beneficial to get out, it helped me, is to stop watching the news, stop listening to politicians,
No.
stop watching, because like you said earlier, you got to have that moment of silence and clarity when you can hear your own program, your own self thinking, going, what about this? What about that? And then you also have to do investigation and research, because if you don't have, once you realize their program is harming you,
Mhm.
and then it's easy to wake up. Like I was talking to a friend today, because I'm really big on, once I know a food is bad for me, I will literally cold turkey go and never eat it again. I mean,
Mhm.
or I've it's once I it's just it is if I know it's counter to my health and wealth and consciousness and spiritual well-being, I just don't even bother with it again, because I'm it but until you have that knowledge, and you're like, oh. But yeah, getting people to like question can be challenging, you know.
No, it's okay. So to question, it's not wrong. That's the biggest thing. The problem is when you question and you're bashing the people who are asking you to re-examine what you
Mm-hmm.
believe,
Yeah.
that's when you know. And again, that's what I'm talking about with the hypocrisy aspect, is that you're getting mad at people that are putting everything on the line, and then you're like, "Oh, I
Mm.
do too." No, you don't. A lot of us are living very literally paycheck to paycheck and or
Mm-hmm.
donation to donation. That is
Mm-hmm.
how we're getting by in life. You, in contrast, you're over here going, you're doing it wrong. As we're over here
Yeah.
pruning, we're sitting in the sun. You're wearing sunglasses, living under a nice little umbrella, and we're telling you
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what it's like because you're not getting up and doing anything
Yeah.
in the vineyard. And that reminds me, have you ever heard the joke from Brujo and Thibodeau?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna try to remember this. I'm gonna hope I remember to do it justice. But the Brujo and Thibodeau, they're digging around and they're digging this trench. And he's over here. One of them, Brujo, he goes, why are we doing this trench in the hot sun while the boss man's over there drinking some nice cool lemonade? So that doesn't seem fair. He says, I don't know. Why don't you go and ask him? Said Thibodeau. So Brujo goes over there and he's like, hey, why are Brujo and Thibodeau and I digging this nice trench, digging the trench in the heat while you're sitting over here and drinking this cool lemonade? And he goes, okay, I'm going to give you an example of why. He says, because I have intelligence. And he goes, oh,
Mm.
intelligence, what's that? So he says, okay, I want you to hold your hand up against the tree. Or I'm going to hold my hand up against the tree and I want you to swing at it. He says, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, boss. He says, I'm really strong. I might hurt you if I slam your hand up against the tree. He says, don't worry about it. Just throw your punch. And Brujo, winds up, boom, throws his punch. And just at the last second, the boss man moves his hand and Brujo sprains his wrist. He says, now, Brujo, that is what you call intelligence. And he's like, do you understand now? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do. Good.
Mm.
Now go back to work. And so Thibodeau's over there and he says, what did he say? He said he has intelligence. And Thibodeau goes, well, what's intelligence? And Brujo holds the shovel up to his face and says, now, I want you to punch
Oh
me as
no.
hard as you can.
Oh
But do you,
no.
do you like the premise
Yeah.
when I first heard this joke, I was going, wow. Because they're giving us the example of when you try to emulate it yourself, you don't
Yeah.
understand how the game is played.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I understand intelligence. But I'm
Yeah.
not trying to say you're stupid. I'm trying to say, could you try to see how they're doing it? You're trying to do it with an object and you end up doing self-harm to yourself.
Yes.
Whereas the other one's saying, try to hit me. And then I move it and you hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we're over here saying, I'm not dumb enough to play that game because I've
Yeah.
I've seen both sides of the story now, right? I just told it to you. Now I'm not going to do either of them. What's the best thing to do? Get the boss man into the pit with you and start doing some things?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I kept thinking about was because again, once you know how evil and how bad these people are and what they've been doing to humanity,
Mm,
and then the levels, because once you know how bad it is, then one thing that I kept saying during COVID time is if I see him coming down the street on the same side of the sidewalk as I am, I'm going to cross to their side. I'm not going to, confront them. I'm not going to ask them, hey, could you please stop doing what you're doing to my fellow human beings? I'm
right.
going to go to their side because, again, and go on with my covert action agenda because these people are the baddest of the bunch, the worst of the worst. And getting to once you realize that, you're like, you're up against a formidable foe.
Yeah.
The other the other thing that I think I want to impart to people is that it's in my observation, it's difficult for good people to understand how these bad people
Yeah.
understand them. They just don't have any frame of reference. They're like, their whole thing is, oh, you mean bad like in as in they trip someone? I'm like,
Yes.
no, much worse than that. You mean bad like as in they pickpocket their wallet? Like you're on the right track, but just
Mhm.
go further down the line. And it's so crazy to me. But that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I think for people. They're most people are so trusting and so good, and they
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
harm another person, but until you understand how these people think, you are really in danger, quite frankly, to some level. And I hate to even, make people feel scared about it, but it's so diabolical what they're up to, and
They
have been up
drift
to.
off of your natural compassion.
Yeah, they do in
Yeah.
ignorance and yeah, that's very well put, very well good put Who do I
Again,
say it?
so that they grift off your natural compassion, yet when it actually comes time to be a real humanitarian for stuff that goes on in Gaza,
Yes.
then you don't want to do that because my
Yes.
government, right? And it's making you take what's normally there and putting it in the system as opposed to your fellow man. Now, do I have
Yeah.
to agree in his religion in order to support his right to live? No. Do I have to agree with what he says in order to? No. But
Hmm.
it's the fact that I respect you enough as another human being to have the right to come to your own conclusions to make sure your life is long enough to make so you have the time to examine
Hmm.
things for yourself as opposed to it being ended by a bomb as opposed to trying to convert you with the Bible.
Yeah.
It's sad, dude, but this again, what they hear is we're a Christian nation, and it's like, no, we do sound like. I saw one meme and it says, yeah, you guys are the empire of Satan or whatever, death to Satan from 2001, and now they're showing 2025. It says, what else you got?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, now you understand what I'm saying.
Ugh,
You're
it's
cutting off my
wild.
water supply. You're cutting off my electricity. You're bombing my kids in the street. And you
Yeah.
want me to say you're doing it for the good of my people as you build beachfront properties over the graves of my children and family?
Yeah.
How dare you say that's for my benefit? I,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, and one thing, and I've heard a number of people talk about, and even Netanyahu and other leaders in the West and in the Middle East, they've talked about, and again, I always take what these people say and ask the question, I never take what they say at face value, but I've heard a number of them say, they're upset that their propaganda machine is breaking down, and they're upset that people are starting to take the side
yeah,
of the oppressed and not of Israel. And they're like, what's wrong? We've always been able to control these people's thoughts. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I just look at it as God working and making people's discernment and making people see through the BS.
yeah,
But they are they do appear to be frustrated, whether they're feigning or not. They do appear to be frustrated that there are campus protests, that there
mhm,
are, people waking up. And I'm like, it's nice to see them squirm like they were squirming when they made Joe Biden say our patience is wearing thin. They do
yes,
appear to be losing power. Do you think that it's a ruse or a tactic
boy.
that they're employ, or do you think they are losing the control of the minds of the masses?
I do think you're correct. I do think you're correct because it says in Revelation that the Antichrist will make war against the saints. Now you read saints and you're like, oh, Catholic? No, saints as in set apart.
Hmm.
You make war against people who are set apart from things of this world. Now, does that mean everybody's going to be a Christian? No. Granted, saints are, again, they're promoting the word, but you're going to have dissidents that are going to be going, wait, so you're lumping in me? Like, I was kind of skeptical of some of these Christian people, but you're telling me they're the good guys. You hate their Christ guy. It's gradually funneling them towards um so I was just flirting around with the truther aspect, conspiracy realm of things, but you hate them, and I'm in the same camp now as them.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
that
one of those people.
right.
I,
It's like
that I gravitated to your camp.
right, right, and that's thank you.
Well, and I know I know some of your other people that shows that you've been on are
Yes,
gravitating to your camp.
and
Because
it's not even my camp. I'm
well,
just
I guess I
saying
should say the Christian camp.
right. Well, the Christian camp of things, as in look, what I want to do very intentionally is compare and contrast. This is what that ideology, like I said, the serpent is consuming its own tail.
Hmm.
This is what their end game is going to be. God says that they get destroyed in the end for doing what they're doing to humanity. He doesn't like what they're doing to humanity. Now, comparatively, this is what you had the other aspect to look to. Now, which one sounds better? Yours does. Granted,
Yeah,
this side sucks for a little bit, but it makes more sense
yeah.
being with this side. Yes. So they are, as I said, Klaus Schwab is scared of the concept of individualism and libertarianism. He's already said that. As you said, Joe Biden says, okay, take a screenshot, folks. I'm bashing Joe Biden.
Hmm.
Joe Biden has says if you're wearing our patience thin, and he's
Yeah.
threatening to cancel my job. So see, I have a beef
Hmm.
with him too. I said it
Yeah.
originally back in the day. If you scroll back long enough, um,
Hmm.
so you have him saying that, and now we're getting the things with the White House. If you don't comply,
You're an
So
anti, yeah.
right, you're causing problems. Just comply, go with the system, go with the flow,
Yeah.
everything will be fine. Where it's like, I guess the symbol of anarchy is now going to be the salmon.
Yeah.
Count against the stream.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me is I'm no longer going to go with your official narrative of everything going this way, right? I'm
Hmm.
not going with your flow. I'm going with my focus as you got in the background. Let's throw a little bit towards
Hmm.
that. And I'm going counter.
Yeah.
I'm saying, you know what? No, no, I'm not going with your narrative. And I know you guys are scared, hence you wouldn't have to censor me. I know my courage is contagious, and that's why you're trying to lower my reach
Yeah.
with who I'm trying to encourage. I know that. And that's why I know that the demons of when I'm talking to my local spheres, they hate me because the people they listen to, their energy is being channeled through the screen towards them and they're
Hmm.
scared. So now you're scared because you consume what they say. And that's why when you were saying earlier, when I'm hearing the news or C-SPAN or something like that, most of the time, I get kind of like it tenses me
Yeah.
up, dude, because
Yeah.
now I hear it and I'm like, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
I know that it's a lie, and it's not easy for me to hear it. It's like watching somebody smoke, and the smoke
It's
starts.
warfare. It's verbal warfare. It's verbal
Yes,
warfare and mental
yes.
warfare. Yeah.
And when you are embedded and you just been gravitating and you just been
Hmm.
less resonating with the gravy for a bit, you immediately know like, no, I'm not mixing with that. I'm not mixing with that. That's unpalatable.
Yeah.
You can't be in connection and relation with that. So
Mm-mm.
yes, I do think you're 100% correct. I do think they are scared, but they're trying
Hmm.
to keep it. They're
They're
downplaying.
trying to keep their cool. This
Yes,
is
but
cool. Keep it cool. Yeah.
if you were really confident in what you're doing, you wouldn't have to
Hmm.
build a bunker, would you?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, and the
yeah,
other thing that I think about, Brandon, is I think about the idea that if they weren't afraid of us for some reason, they wouldn't spend billions of dollars with a deceptive propaganda, misleading campaign. If they weren't afraid of us, they would just come out and do whatever they wanted and have no fear about it. But they have to hijack the mind because they know that's where the battlefield is, and they spend an enormous amount of money doing that through their celebrities and their political people and their media and their music, and everything is designed to keep us down. They have to fear us ultimately, or they wouldn't do that.
and dude, that's the thing is that they don't seem to real. And this is what I've told folks: if you want to stand out, you first got to stand up. The
Mm,
guy who's speaking, the Ben Shapiro or whatnot, calling him out. What makes him better than you?
yeah,
I'm not saying it's wrong to ask somebody else for advice that's an expert, quote unquote, in their field of their of how they view the world, but challenge them once in a while and watch how they squirm. When you start pointing out the hypocrisy, does this sound like America first? When you point out, does this text sound like it's a good thing to support?
yeah,
Watch how they squirm. And that should tell you you're thinking right for yourself and questioning what somebody else is telling you. No, that's irrelevant. That's not important. That's irrelevant. That's anti-Semitic. No, if thinking is anti-Semitic or whatever field
or questioning.
questioning, I'm over here going to be like, you know what? No, this is
Mhm.
right, and this is what you've been recommend. Rockefeller Jesuit education. Don't think they're trying to entertain with Jesuits. That's what they were doing. They're saying it was more palatable to culturally influence the masses via Shakespeare entertainment as
Yeah,
getting them from the pulpit, which is not
yes,
wrong, right?
right.
Christ used parables too, and we can
Hmm.
entertain the story in our head and reading a novel like we used to originally, and we came up with how it looked in our heads, right? Right? We were reading, and I came up with how
Yeah,
I pictured James and the Giant Peach, or filling the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, filling all this stuff. I don't know why that's particularly on my mind, but I'm just saying you get
yeah,
descriptions and you process it, and you're reading the descriptions of what they're telling you. Like I said,
yeah. But
now
you're doing
it's
work too in your mind.
right.
Yeah,
And sometimes for me, I'm reading a book. Oh, I got to Google. What is that word? Where's my thesaurus? Back in the day, where's my thesaurus? Oh,
yeah.
that's a really good word. I have to incorporate that into my vocabulary because I want to, like, when I'm describing something to somebody,
I
I
want to
want to know
use
what
that.
that means, right?
Yeah,
It's the enthusiasm of wanting to be part of it, but at the same time, acknowledging other people want to use it for evil and to hurt other
yes,
people. That's what you
yes.
have to understand. And that's why shows like Criminal Minds, you have somebody who's, 'cause, 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 going after the bad guy, but you watch a lot when they go into the personal lives. There's like, wow, you have a really crappy life. Most of them, statistically,
Yes.
you have a crappy life behind the scenes. Yeah, but that's what helps me understand this field of thinking. Like we were saying before,
Yeah.
Robin Williams, when you're depressed, comedy and tragedy, it's
Yes.
only a degree
Interplay.
off, right?
Yeah.
So if you're saying 12 and 6 o'clock, where you're like, well, that's 6 o'clock. Yeah, but it mirrors 12 o'clock. And this
Yeah.
is what the other half of Two Face, right? This is what the other half looks like in the dark, the part you don't
Hmm.
want to see me as.
Yeah. That's so true. So true. Yeah, it is encouraging what's happening, when you look and you can see, good and bad. Some people are falling for it and will continue, but many are waking up. And
Yeah.
like I say, it's very encouraging and it's exciting to see that happening, you
Mhm.
know. But
It's micro at the time, but for me, micro's huge. Because that's my
hmm
buddy was saying. He says, Imagine if I just reached 1,000 people out of a million. So that's a huge drop in the bucket.
yeah,
And that's what I'm trying to do with folks is just saying, hey, I'll start the ball rolling, but please go forth and do likewise.
yeah,
Don't be followers, right? Followers are fine. I want to have doers. If you follow
yeah,
me, be a doer, which is what Christ was trying to tell people. That's all I'm saying. Don't follow me, follow him. If you want to contribute to help people like myself who are bold
yeah.
enough to actually get up and get the ball rolling,
And do the
cool.
work and put in the
Great.
time to
Great.
research and package and deliver. Back to what we were
Dissect,
talking about
connect
earlier.
dots. Yeah.
Yes, connect dots and back to what we were talking about earlier. Knowledge is power. I consider myself a knowledge worker. I consider you a knowledge worker. In the information age, in an information war, knowledge is power. The people that are investigating and packaging the knowledge, they're valuable.
Yeah.
Your work has helped me in immense ways to understand what we're up against, uh, build that psychological profile, because what do they do in all these shows? They build a psychological profile of the killer so they can find the killer,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people haven't been building psychological profiles of the killer because they think again, back to what we were laughing at the other day, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yes.
you know
Yes. It's
it's
literally it's like the show
uh,
Dexter where he's over here he was contemplating how am I going to tell my sister that I'm the Bay Harbor butcher, and
uh
several scenarios that played out, and one is like I'm sorry, I know how this feels to you. The other one she just dropped gets right up, pops him in the head, he blows off across the eyes
yes,
crossed. I think about that because I thought that was one of the funniest scenes ever. Is you have these three reaction scenarios of how somebody can interpret once you tell them it's me, it's the
yeah,
person right next to you, not just the news article,
yeah,
it's me. And I think that scares them is going, wait, my government's the bad guy?
yeah,
Yes. I'm the bad guy for contributing to this?
yeah,
I hate to tell you, you're one of their henchmen. And I don't
yeah.
want you to be a henchman because
You're
again,
funding it.
you're cannon fodder to them. And I'm
Hmm.
telling you, please, just get away from them. They're a bad influence in your
Yeah,
life, right? Like a
yeah,
parent. Please stop hanging out
yes,
with that kid because he's giving you drugs or he's hanging out with some party crew groups that, they're sketchy. And I care
yeah.
about you because I gave birth to you, right? I want you to abstain. Like, hey, what, Scarface? You're no longer a son of mine. Get out of my house. Blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
I don't care how much money you bring to me. Well, I'm
Hmm.
ashamed of the reputation of as the man in the house of what and how you're doing it. Get a real job. Don't go to the
Yeah.
grinding areas to give me money, you Judas, right? You are selling your integrity by going into the lower parts and you're like, well, I'm making you a lot of money. It's not
Hmm.
about the money. It's about
Again,
who you are as an individual. That's what I love. That's what I embrace. Not the
yeah.
fake, not the
How
hypocrisy.
you got it, how you acquired it is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, there we go. So another
Yeah, there we have
one,
it.
there we have it. Another one down. Always good to chat with you and talk about these things that are unfolding in the world.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Until next time.
Perfect.